What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to another episode, y'all. And I know for some of our fans, you've been waiting for this episode for quite some time, y'all. And that is, we are finally doing our 2023-2024 wrestling season preview, y'all. And as always, we got a friend of the podcast here, Nijel Jones, former NC State wrestler, on here with us. And I know it's funny, Nigel. We were talking just before we started recording about how two of our friends who are also friends of the show, Mike Machiavello and Tommy Gantz, are both busy doing their own things. Mike is out there competing for Team USA, and Tommy's now an assistant coach at State. So so it's funny how time flies. So I guess let's see. Like Mike was, I think, the first person to be on the show in terms of talking wrestling, and then Tommy came second. So hopefully now with Nigel, since you're now a repeat attendee on the show, maybe something big's coming for you next, man.
Don't go get hired and we lose you.
I know, right?
No, I don't have the coaching gene in me, so or the competing gene anymore.
That's funny. Yeah. So anyway, y'all. So what we're going to be doing here is again just basically doing a weight by weight preview, and again kind of cover the first weight classes in the first part, last 5 weight classes in the second part here. And I think especially in those first couple of weight classes, we're going to have no shortage of big name talk, as again you're starting really with the big guns here with 125 with redshirt junior Jacob Camacho, who as of the most recent rankings is ranked number 1 in the weight class, which I think to me is crazy to think about, because I mean, Nigel, I feel like that most of the biggest name, like 125 is like 125, 133 is always pretty star filled. And so, to have, somebody ranked, first of all, have somebody ranked number 1 in any weight class is huge, much less I feel like in that 125 weight class, which is pretty usually star studded.
Yeah. And Camacho, he's a senior this year. He took the red shirt last year, so a lot of growth and development. Mm-hmm. He started the year off hot. I mean, he took out the kid's name. His name's escaped. He's not having a great year. Matt Ramos. He took Matt Ramos out pretty early in the season, and it hasn't looked back. We didn't see him compete at the Las Vegas Open, but I think he would have been right there in the mix, and it would have been really cool to see him against Provo. He's another ranked guy at 125, and I think he won the Cliff Keen, the Las Vegas tournament. But Camacho, we knew he was going to be great, and he was great the moment he stepped on the mat the first time, his freshman year. And I think his first win was against I can't remember the guy's name. Virginia Tech was like another top 3 guy, and that was his first ranked win. So Camacho's always been in the mix.
Yeah. No, he's because that's another thing too, is that we haven't even talked about as well, even like Jarrett Trombley. He's a guy who, again, he won the ACC at 125 last year, while Camacho was dealing with, I think it was an ACL injury that kept him out for the season. So with him, and then we're going to talk about Kai here in a little bit. There's not really much place for Trombley to fit, but Trombley is a guy that if let's say Camacho needs to sit out for a duel, just because of injury or because rest, whatever that may be, you can easily put Trombley in a 125 or 133. I feel like, and you're feeling still 100% great about that position, to say the least. Which is, because I remember when I asked Coach Pop during the media availability before the season started, and I asked so what are we going to be doing about Trombley and Camacho, and he was like, enjoy the depth. We have the depth. There's no doubt about it. So, but yeah, Greg, so thoughts on Camacho so far?
Yeah, it was interesting that he didn't wrestle last week, and I'm not sure. Maybe Nigel, you might have some insight. Why he might not have, if it's just trying to load management or getting some of the younger guys some matches in, or kind of like how we saw last year with nationals. Some of our guys were banged up because it is a long season, and they're kind of trying to, from things that I've heard, like you were talking, Leighton, that they're really got to try to do some load management with these guys so they're fresh come tournament time, both ACC and the nationals. So kind of maybe give me some thoughts on that, Nigel.
Camacho coming off a lower leg injury, very common in wrestling, but you'll see a lot of guys come back too soon, too quick, and carry a lot of load, carry a full season. That's hard to do. I would like 5 5-10 years ago, Camacho's probably out there wrestling because you kind of have to be tough. But I think the sport, we're still tough. Wrestling's still tough. I
No
think
doubt.
we're getting a little bit more practical, maybe a little bit more strategic with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll see Tremblay. We'll see him during the season. We didn't see him in Vegas. We saw one of our other younger guys go, which is like
Mm-hmm.
we got a good depth, and he won a couple matches. So
Yeah,
get that
Troy
guy's
Troy Troy Hallman. Troy
yeah
Hallman.
Yeah,
yeah.
Holman. Yeah, Holman.
Hallman.
Oh man, so he's been in the room for a
Pennsylvania.
little bit. You finally got to put the singlet on and represent for NC State, and he did a good job. But I think
Yeah.
I think it's just load management, and I think I rather have Camacho 100% with 15 wins at the end of the year versus Camacho at 85% with 30 wins at the end of the season. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to make sure you guys can go out there and wrestle when we need them.
Which I do want to ask about that real quick. Like, what are your thoughts on Trombley coming back, being that he's a fifth-year senior? So, I mean, he's not going to have a year of eligibility left. I mean, I'm actually really surprised that he decided to stick around and not transfer somewhere where he has but where he's guaranteed an opportunity to compete full time.
Man, I think last year for him, he was so close to getting over the hump, and he
Yeah.
could have probably gone somewhere. And I
Yep.
think he just something about that room, being in that room, looking at those guys, you don't want to go anywhere else,
Yeah.
even if you get a more limited of a role. I think Pat, Tommy, and like Tommy's still around. Mock was still around. Nick still comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Jack is in the room still. Like
Mm-hmm.
the guys just, it's hard to leave here. It's hard to leave Raleigh, and it's you want to be here, and you're just a part. It's contagious, man. You just want to
Culture, right?
yeah, it's the culture. Like, and that word is so overblown
Sure.
because that's not like a real thing. But like in this instance, right? Like in this instance, there's something about that room. There's something about what's happening in that room that makes guys go like, I'm okay with getting my graduate's degree and graduating from NC State and saying like being able to say, hey, I was not only on the team, I was a contributor. And that's huge.
Amen. Amen. So moving on now to 133, and I don't think we necessarily need to spend too much time in this area. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Kai Arini, the
ACC Wrestler of the Week.
AC Wrestler of the
wrestler,
Week. I
right?
mean, the guy's the NC State legend already. I mean, his celebration within itself is awesome. It's right up there with Trent with the raised roof and electric guitar, man. With this, yeah.
I definitely think when Kai's done and they start a Kiss tribute band, I think he should definitely be in it with the whole tongue. I mean, he's got, like you said, a great celebration.
He's sick, yeah. But I definitely think with Kai, his weight class is a little bit more interesting. I mean, obviously highlighted by Sam Latona from Virginia Tech, who, I mean, those two have been going at it now for a while, and I mean, they're only juniors, so you still got them competing for this season
Crazy.
and next season. So that rivalry is going to be building with fire on it over this season and next season. But I mean, right now he's 7-0, number 5 in the country. And I mean, again, you look above him, Aaron Nagao,
Yeah, Penn State kid, yeah.
Nagao from Penn State sophomore. And then, I mean, you keep coming up the list all the way up to Ryan Crookham from Lehigh, who's only a freshman. He's a freshman, ranked number 1 at 133. That's ridiculous. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a tough sled. But I think that, I mean, with Kai and what you saw from him last year, I think he made it to All-American status. And so, I mean, still the sky's the limit for this dude.
Yeah, and he's in a tough weight class, and I think he's right. I think he's right in the mix. And then Vito, he won a world championship, or he got silver. I can't remember. Over the summer, so like Vito's good. Dayton Fix also the same boat. He's a world medalist himself. And then Aaron Nagao, he's also age level. He was really talented. Age level means like juniors, and like they do like age level world championships. And then Ryan Cookman, he's another really good guy from Lehigh, and he kind of waited his turn. He was a redshirt last year, and I think and then Sam Latona, and then even like if you keep going a little bit deeper, there's like other guys that are like right there, but I think I remember last year we were talking about it. The camera we were talking about the NCAA preview, and we didn't get it on camera. We were texting, and I said like Kai's going to do something. I said Kai and Ed are both going to do something, and they're going to be the reason we're going to be in team trophy contention. And same thing this year. Same thing this year. Kai and Camacho, and all the way up to 49, all the way up to 57 is really chunky for our lineup. So if we get a team trophy this year, those 5 guys are going to be involved.
Well, we'll kind of talk about it here at the end of part 1 in terms of what we need to do and what the expectations are. But I do want to go ahead and any more thoughts here, Greg, about Kai before we move on to Ryan Jack?
No, I just think to your point, like Kai's going to be right in the mix the whole year, as long as he stays healthy, and that it just at the end of the season, this is how the draw works out, right? For the seedings and all of that. So if he gets the right draw, he can take it all away. No, there's no doubt.
You only got to be 5 guys, right?
Right.
It's not going to be all. It's not going to be the top 5 in a row.
No.
So you just got to beat the 5 that are in front of you.
Exactly. So now moving up to 141, you got the junior Ryan Jack, younger brother of Kevin Jack, and I remember at least the biggest thing for me. I feel like that Ryan Jack and Ed Scott to me,
they're wild cards.
To be honest, those were the 2 wrestlers that, looking at back to last season, I'm like, they should have done more. Like they should have done more, and I know they should have done more. I mean they're super talented. They came out fresh. They're both their freshman years and lit the world on fire. And then last year, I feel like left a lot of meat on the bone, And I remember I was talking to Coach Pop in terms of and asking him so what happened with Ryan Jack? And his response was just that he felt like that Ryan got a little bit caught in all the pressure and all the juice going on around him. So it's a little bit of a sophomore underclassman, just learning moment. And so now I think he's starting to settle in. At the 141, he's number 4 in the country right now. So 9-1 overall record. So I think you're definitely seeing that so far. But again, same thing. It seems like it's interesting too, because at number 5 is a guy from North Carolina actually in his weight class, Lachlan McNeil. Who's a sophomore. So I think that's going to be an interesting setup here for North Carolina. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, Ryan beat him over at Cliff Feed as well. So
yeah. Well, and so let me ask you, Nigel. In terms of so state hosts UNC and Virginia Tech this year, which I think is huge.
And there's more to it too, right? we can get into the schedule here in a little bit, but it's an insane home schedule.
It is an insane home schedule, to say the least. And let me ask you, because I feel like because I was talking to my wife about this. It's not normal for us not to have a single home meet until January, isn't it? Don't we usually have 1 or 2 during the late November, December timeframe? I feel like.
I think we do. The schedule got. This is some inside knowledge, right? So the schedule got changed over. We were supposed to be in Italy, right? So I think a lot of that. Exactly. So I think a lot of that went toward the scheduling. Went toward making sure that we had enough time for visas and stuff like that.
Well, that makes sense too, because that was supposed to be, I think, during Thanksgiving. No. Yeah, it was supposed to be this week or last week. I think
last week, 2 weeks ago.
And so they probably, with that, coming back, that's a 6-hour flight over, and that's a pretty brutal schedule. So they probably wanted to give them some rest time. But I could have swore that last year I was at a December home meet.
Yeah, you were.
There's usually one.
Yeah,
there's usually the schedule. Like I said, some of the stuff with the schedule we weren't even supposed to be in America for a lot of November. So that got turned over. That is some inside knowledge, but
cool.
Obviously, yeah.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. So real quick, Nigel, in terms of with Ryan Jack, I mean, so what did you see from him last year, and what are you hoping that he improves upon heading into his junior year now this year?
I think so. Let's go back his freshman year when he was winning.
Hmm.
And he won it. He won his sophomore year too. When you come in and you win as a freshman, it's delightful. It's like, oh, that's a, it's like, oh, he got
Pleasant
one off.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So then your sophomore year, it's you go look back and you see there's some very marked improvement, but we were kind of expecting like I don't want to say unrealistic jump, but the you were expecting to like he's got 1 year under he's been in the room 1 year with Pat.
Hmm.
Like we're gonna see Pat's gonna work on him. He's gonna some of the stuff that we weren't great at, we're gonna get good at, and the stuff that we're good at, we're gonna get great. And I think we saw a lot of that last year. I also
Hmm.
think that he was in a really tough weight class last year as well. So
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
he's in the same tough weight class this year, and I think we'll see those improvements. Just like I said, just like with Ed Scott, just like with Trombley, Isaac.
Hmm.
He's taking a red shirt this year too. We'll get into that. But like I said,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
I kind of have that same sentiment as I did with him last year. It's gonna be like this is his year. We're gonna lose Hitley as a leader. We're gonna lose Faison as a leader next year. This is Ryan Jack's chance and opportunity to take control
Hmm.
of the team as like a not necessarily as a vocal leader. That's not his job right now, but as like an example setter. Like, hey,
Yep.
you do everything right, you're gonna win here. And I think he's doing everything right and he's winning. So I think we'll
Yeah.
see a lot out of him this year.
Yeah, to your point, Nigel, like he met like expectation, but he didn't take that next step. Right, last year he went 2-2 in the nationals, and both of his losses were to higher ranked opponents, which is respectable. But you want him to go beat those guys, right? And so
Right.
now this year you're hoping, okay, he's learned. Now he's got to take that third step, being a junior, and then push through that barrier, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go win the ACC championship.
Right.
Go get All American.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be
Yeah.
his bar this year.
Yeah.
Um, so moving on to 149, Jackson Arrington presumably would be the guy at the 149 weight class, and I mean, to me, he's a guy that I mean, I think I think it's kind of a story with freshman wrestlers in NC State where it's like he had a great year. I mean, I feel like you freshmen come in, you're like, man, all right, this kid's good, and I think you definitely saw that with Jackson Arrington. But I think the most interesting storyline, and tell me if I'm wrong, Nigel, but the Virginia Tech with Caleb Henson,
Caleb. Yeah.
like dude, like we talk about the beautiful thing about how like everybody loves rivalries, and within wrestling, there's so many big and great rivalries just within the ACC. Whether we just mentioned Sam Latona and Kai Kairini, and right now you got Caleb Henson and Jackson Arrington who faced each other twice last year, and they're both sophomores. I mean, they can be facing each other 6, 8 more times, throughout their career. And I mean, I'll be honest, I think that that's going to be kind of the mark, that Jackson Harrison knows if I'm going to take that next level, I got to find a way to get over Caleb, which is tough because I watched those two guys wrestle last year, and Caleb's impressive, no doubt about it, man. Caleb's impressive, but I think Jackson Ayrton, has been impressive in his own ways, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they both grow and who kind of comes up, above each other as they grow.
Yeah. So I think again this is another one where like we were texting and I'd said like, hey, like pay attention to how Caleb does because that's gonna be how Jackson does because they've been wrestling each other since high school and
Mm.
and that's a part of it too. Like we're talking about rivalries, like and that's like there was guys I wrestled when I was in high school that I would keep saying I'm like, oh my god, I wrestled this one. I literally like
Can't get rid of this guy.
yeah, like 30, like not even joking. This is like my 15th time wrestling this guy in an official match. Like sometimes we'll be at the same practice for some reason, and we're wrestling at that practice when we're in high school. So they've seen a lot of each other. They're gonna keep seeing a lot of each other. I think this one's gonna that Caleb Hinton versus Jackson Arrington match is gonna look a lot like Bolin versus Hitley, where like
Mm.
sometimes you're gonna be like man, like Caleb's up 6 points. What are we gonna do? And I'm like, guys, wait to the third period. We're gonna see what happens. They're gonna go in overtime. I promise you, they're gonna go in overtime. Like, don't be relaxed until the third period. So I think we're gonna see I think, like you said, that's like a benchmark. Caleb, like, this is a tough weight class. This is tough. This is a tough weight class, and it's
Oh,
open.
yeah.
It's tough, but it's open.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yanni's
there's not
gone.
that guy. There's
Yeah,
not
Yanni
that
was the
guy.
guy. Yanni
Right.
and Sammy Sasso. Sammy Sasso is probably going to be. He'll probably be. I can't say he'll be back. He was in a bad like incident, so
Mm,
not like with the law. He was like injured in a bad incident. So like I
I
don't want to
gotcha.
make it sound like he got in trouble with the law or something, but like he was in a
Okay.
bad like accident and he got injured, and
Okay.
so he'll probably be out for some time. But
Okay.
those two are guys that are returning finalists. Yanni's gone. That weight class is wide open, but everyone, I would say everyone from the top 8 has a position to win it. So if Jackson just kind of stays the course, and you might, like you got to beat 5 guys. You don't have to beat 1 through 5.
Right.
Sometimes it's number 36 and number 20, and then number 18, and then if you're ranked number 5, number 6, and then blah 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 blah. Right. So I think Jackson can make some noise this year for sure. He should
Well,
make noise.
and before I pass to you, Greg, just an interesting thought. I mean, so the top 9 wrestlers at 149 right now are juniors or younger. So there's no seniors in the top 9 right now. So interesting thoughts when you think about not only this year but next year too. So,
Yeah.
Greg, your thoughts on Jackson?
Yeah, he's just another guy. He's another dude, right? We just keep going through this list. It's another dude. It's another dude. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it, the, the way this roster looks, this is another guy that can compete for both ACCs and national. Like you said, Nigel, it's and I said it, with Ryan. It's just if you get the right draw, this is all about matchups and timing and. I think Jackson, like, he's been wrestling really well this year. He's got a couple of wins over some top seeded guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Plays at Vegas.
yeah, I was to say out in Vegas, he had a nice showing. It's just keep building upon stacking good performances.
Yeah, yeah, and the one thing too, Nigel as well, and I guess we kind of say this to the end, but I mean, this is a really strong team. Like this, like,
That's what I said. It's another dude. It's
yeah,
it's another
Yeah,
dude.
25 through 49, all top 5, depending on which ranking you look at, all
Hmm.
all in the top 5, and that's a tough. Like that's a tough. We could go anywhere, and it's going to be a tough out. So
because the beautiful thing is, again, I mean, I feel like that our strength is our real strength is towards the beginning of the weight class and then towards the end of the
At the
weight
end of
class.
it, yeah.
So I mean, if you do it normal style where you start 1 through 25 and come out, then that means we're going to start off strong, or at least we should start off strong, and then we're going to finish strong as well. So
Yep.
it's a great problem to have. But
Well, I don't know if
just,
mentioned, but like he's currently ranked sixth in this week's poll. So again,
right, yep.
but he's been bouncing 5-6 pretty much consistently the whole season so
he'd
far.
be, he would honestly probably he should be in the top 3, top 4, depending on where you put him and Caleb. He had the injury forfeit out of Las Vegas,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so that put the
so I heard.
Ohio State kid. Again, depending on which ranking you look at, that put the Ohio State kid a little bit ahead of him.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then let's move on to a guy that we've already mentioned, Ed Scott at 157. A junior so far this season. He's 11-2, and he's right now number 6. And then the guy that we also highlight as well when we talk about Ed Scott, Bryson Doney from Virginia Tech at 7. And I know. Nigel, we did the watch party for the Virginia Tech match last year, and Ed Scott was down like, golly, it felt like, I think it was like 12-0 or something like that early. Like it was like a lot of scoring, and I was like, Nigel, what's going on? You were like, it's Ed Scott, Bryson Doney match, man. And I mean, even when they faced each other at the ACC, it was the same thing. It was pretty high scoring, face off. So I mean, for me, I just feel like with Ed, just a little more consistency.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, like he can beat anybody, but just he has those losses, which is like the head sideways loss. Like, what happened there, man? Like, especially because, again, his first year, the only match he really lost during the regular season was to the guy from Pitt. And I mean, Pop said outright it was just because he just went too hard too quickly, and he just ran out of gas in the third period, and the Pitt guy took advantage. And so you were like, okay, well, he's going to learn from that. And then, last year, again, just a lot of ups and a lot of downs. So just a little more consistency this year, I feel like, for me there, for Ed Scott.
I think being a student of the game, right? And I hate to say that, I think what we see with Ed Scott what can kind of like confuse us a little bit is the way he wrestles.
Mm-hmm.
Is like if you take the home run away from him, you're taking away a lot of his offense. So I
Mm-hmm.
think there was a time where the game plan with Ed was to let's go back to hitting our singles and let's try to work in that, like, let's foul off a couple before we hit a home run, like, make him throw us a good pitch. And I think when you do that with Ed Scott, man, he can baseball analogy. He can hit like a inside curve, and he can hit out of the park if he locates it. So I think when we watch him wrestle, and you were like, we're talking about the Virginia Tech match with Bryce, and you're like, man, like I think Bryce might open the gap up on him, and I was like, wait till he sees, we'll see what happens. And then the match looks exactly the same, but he only loses by 2, and you're like.
Right.
You're like, oh, okay. Now I see what you're saying. And I said, let's wait to NCAA's. They're going to see each other, and
Yep.
we get to NCAA's, and they see each other, and Bryce or Ed gets
It gets
the
him.
win, and then
Yep.
and now same thing
Pins
at
him.
Las Vegas. Yeah, same thing at Las Vegas. And I'm not taking anything away from Ed. I think Bryce is a little banged up. He got beat by another. He took another loss to a freshman who's really good.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to see him and Ed, a guy named Meyer Shapiro. Kind of want to see him and Ed wrestle because Bryce and Ed have the exact same style. It just looks very different. Where like Bryce is like a tornado and Ed's like a hurricane. Like if you get caught in the middle of both of them, it's probably over for you. But it's like the
Yeah.
same style, just kind of different techniques. So I
Your
love
metaphor
watching those
game
two
tonight's been
wrestle.
on point, Nigel.
I've been right. I wrote it down. The little prep before we got on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Greg,
yeah.
thoughts, Ed?
Yeah, for me, Ed, like he'll get himself in a hole whether he'll lose an early match in a tournament, and then he'll fight his way back through consolations, and end up placing, top 3, top 4, top 5. It's kind of like that, like Nigel said, it's the consistency, right? And for me, it feels like Ed is feast or famine. Like he'll go hard, and sometimes that aggressiveness plays against him. Because I remember, what was it? I think it was like ACC's a couple of years ago, maybe. He won that one, I think, in the ACC
2
tournament.
years ago.
Yeah.
He beat the guy from UNC because
Yeah.
he had an ankle injury.
Yeah, but I see him just put himself in vulnerable positions where he'll be too aggressive, and he'll put himself in a vulnerable, and they'll twist it up on him, and then he's like down and out. And like to you said, like to your point, Nigel, he can hit the home run, but we don't need that every time. It's
No.
okay to go win 3-2. Like you don't have to win, 8-0 or 12-0 or whatever. Just be more technically sound, I guess, is where I'm trying to go. Because he
Right.
seems like he opens himself up too much sometimes.
Agreed. Yeah.
I would agree with that, and I also like still think that like if he, I think for him personally, if he's not getting those big chains off, it kind of messes with his confidence. Not he's confident, but it kind of messes with it messes with the psyche, messes with the feel of the match for him. And I think like he wants to be up. That's like kind of like me. I needed to be up by at least 5 going into the third. If I wasn't, I was technically like in my mind I was losing. So I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna give up something here. So I got.
Well, then you press, right? And then you press, and then you open yourself up to something that you probably didn't need to.
Yeah.
So I want to ask one question, not relating to necessarily weight previews here in part 1. So what are your thoughts on the 3 versus 2 for takedowns, Nigel?
If that was around when I was around, y'all wouldn't be talking to me either. I'd be on the coaching staff. But I'd have been right next to Tommy still. But I'm not against it. I would have rather have seen a takedown still be worth 2, but if the action goes out of bounds, the top wrestler gets the choice to stand up a guy for free. So like I take you down, I move the action to out of bounds by my own volition, or we just roll out of bounds or whatever. And then the ref says like, do you want to stand him up for free, or you want to go back to bottom or top position? And then I can stand him up for free. So kind of does the same thing where you take like you take the escape away, right? So now
Yeah.
you get an escape, you're still up 2. It does the
Yeah.
same thing without like putting so much emphasis on
The point
takedown
system,
wrestling.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
got you.
I think short term it'll be good. Long term, I think we're gonna get away from the. For me, wrestling is you got to pin it. Like the ultimate goal is to pin somebody, and I think once we get away from and we're like the converse is we're still doing like we got an extra point for back exposure now, which is really powerful. So you know you get a takedown, you get back exposure, you're up 7, right? So um, that's still good, but I think it puts an emphasis on the stand up when the emphasis should be on top bottom control, in my opinion. But I still
Okay.
like it. I think it would have been a good role for me.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah, for someone like myself who's still relatively new to wrestling, and I don't have an opinion either way, because me, I get why you do it, because you're not rewarding them for the takedown, because you're only getting a point essentially for each takedown. And so I feel like it takes longer to get like a tech fall or whatever, right? But now you can maintain those points a little bit faster. But to your point, Nigel, the ultimate goal is to pin your opponent, and now it doesn't feel like it's as big of a. I mean, it is a big deal, but it feels like no, I'll just keep taking them down all match, and then I'll win that way.
Right.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's still hard to pin somebody, no matter what.
Oh,
That's
for
why,
sure. Yeah.
That's why it's
Sure.
that's why it's worth more points than anything. But and I think if you look at it from like I won't call us casual fans, but if you look at it from someone who's first time watching wrestling on ESPN, and you look at Mox's match when he won the national title, he had 3 takedowns to 1, and the match was tied. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Where
Right.
if it's my first time watching, he got up, he got an escape, but Mox got 3 takedowns. This guy has won, the match is tied. That doesn't make sense to me. But
Yeah.
So if I could ask this question, then again, still learning the sport. In your opinion, is it harder to take down or to escape from a takedown?
depends on who you're going against.
Sure.
I was gonna
Sure.
say,
I mean, that's
yeah,
fair,
close,
right?
but yeah.
If you're on the bottom of Ed Scott, it's going to be hard. It's also hard to take Ed down too. So like, but Ed's more dangerous on his feet than he is on top. But he's still very very good on top. Like Ryan Jack is actually better on top, in my opinion, than he is on his feet. So different styles for different wrestlers. But
Yeah.
like a guy like Tommy, would have been like very dominant with an extra
Yeah.
point.
To me, as the casual fan, the in my mind, and this is how it works, and it's probably not a very good working mind, but if you take them down, it feels like you're giving them more reward than escaping. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah,
doing
and I think
the 3 to
right.
1.
Right. So I think about it, like for an escape to happen, you have to be taken down. So I think there should be emphasis on a takedown being worth more than escaping.
Yeah.
Unless you like choose bottom, right? You choose
Right,
bottom.
that's a little
you get
different, yeah.
bonus.
Yeah.
So, but like for the most part, you get taken down. I think it's like the inverse is like that should be worth more because you're not supposed to get taken down.
Right. You're kind of penalizing the wrestler that gets taken down, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Wolfpack Nation. So with that being said, we're going to end part 1 right there as we got through the first 5 weight classes. Make sure to tune in for part 2, y'all, where we continue and finish up with the last 5 weight classes. Talk a little bit about the schedule as well. So with that being said, make sure for our end, make sure to hit that free subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you enjoyed this conversation, if you're excited for State Wrestling, hit that like button and make sure to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, y'all. We'll see y'all for part 2, and go Pack, y'all.
Go Pack.